What's up, you guys? I haven't been able to make a video about anything else since the senseless shooting of Tatiana Jefferson on Saturday, October 12th. It's been weighing very heavy on my heart, and I actually sat down to make a video on Monday about how not only did the Fort Worth Police Department take her life, but how they're now attempting to assassinate her character by beginning to paint her as a threat to the police officer's life, instead of focusing on the fact that the police officer was the one that was a threat to her life. From the little information that was released about the shooting death of Tatiana Jefferson, I felt like the Fort Worth PD were going to use the defense that the officer perceived Tatiana as a threat because he thought that he was investigating a burglary and not doing a wellness check. I was hoping I was wrong and just way off base when I said that I believe the Fort Worth PD were going to start referring to Tatiana as a burglary suspect. So I didn't even release the video that I made Monday because I felt like maybe I was going too far and basically doing too much. But it turns out I was right, because now it's been revealed that although Tatiana's neighbor requested a wellness check, the police dispatch initially interpreted the call as a possible burglary call, and that interpretation was the start of things going wrong that morning. Here's what I recorded Monday, and then we'll get into the new details that have come out. Tatiana's neighbor has said that he called the police for a welfare check because he was concerned about her and her nephew's welfare. But what I believe the police are going to do is not say that they were responding to a welfare check, but they're going to say that they were responding to a call of a possible burglary. Now, this is how they're going to do it. And let me first start with how I know that they're going to do that. In the press conference that the police held, someone in the media asked them about the police responding to a welfare call. And the police officer responded back that he cannot confirm that they were responding to a welfare call.
Explain what a wellness check procedure is. All the call sheet will have available for y'all today. The type of wellness check procedure is? No, the type of call that was dispatched to will be on the call sheet today. Alright, Geiger, explain what a wellness check procedure is. All the call sheet will have available for y'all today. The type of wellness check procedure is? No, the type of call that was dispatched to will be on the call sheet today. Alright, Geiger.
By him saying that he can't confirm that they were responding to a welfare call, that lets me know that they're going to paint the picture that even though the neighbor perceived it as a welfare check and communicated that he wanted a welfare check, they're going to say that the police interpreted it as a possible burglary, and that's why the police approached the home the way they did. That's why they approached it without knocking on the door and without identifying themselves as police. They're going to say that they thought it was a possible burglary. They're going to start calling Tatiana Jefferson a suspect in the burglary. So Tuesday, it was revealed that Fort Worth police officer Aaron Dean was arrested for murder and later released on bail. I have a copy of his arrest warrant here, and it's also in my Patreon, and it includes a summary of the events from that morning from what Tatiana's nephew told police. On line 8, it says, blank, who is Jefferson's 8-year-old nephew, was inside the same room as Jefferson at the time of the shooting. On Saturday, October 12, 2019, he was interviewed by a forensic interviewer for Alliance for Children. And then in number 9, it says he told the investigator that he and Jefferson were playing video games in the back bedroom, and Jefferson told him that she heard noises coming from outside, and she took her handgun from her purse, raised her handgun, pointed it toward the window, and then she was shot and fell to the ground. The police records provided to the public on Saturday, just hours after Tatiana was shot and killed, don't give any indication that the emergency dispatchers relayed to police officers that the call was supposed to be a wellness check. A police call sheet on Saturday reportedly labeled the call as a burglary, not a wellness check, not an open structure call, but a burglary. And even though now Fort Worth PD are labeling the call only as an open structure call, I believe the officer who shot at Tatiana is going to use the defense that he was told that morning that he was being dispatched to an open structure call that was a possible burglary, and that's why he acted the way he did. That's why they were creeping around the house, and that's why they didn't knock on the door or alert anyone to their presence. In the Fort Worth PD press conference held Tuesday, the police chief explained the difference in how a police officer would respond on the two types of open structure calls. One where the officer thinks a person has broken into a house, and one where an officer thinks a person just left their door open.
Would you like to shed on why, if they were responding to a welfare check, why did they park around the corner from the house? And also, why did they not ring the doorbell or knock on the door?
Yes, so they believe they were responding to an open structure call and not just a welfare check.
Chief, my question to that is you said that yesterday. Who determined, if this neighbor called and said the door's open, obviously, who determined, okay, this is an open structure call versus a welfare check? Because as you said yesterday, those are two different types of responses by the officer. Who determined that?
So the information came from the neighbor to the call takers, and then while it was relayed to the dispatch, it was determined to be an open structure call.
So that the dispatcher?
I don't know if I can't tell you specifically because the dispatcher, that's something we're looking into.
Well, Chief, we heard the call from the neighbor and then from dispatch to police officers, and it was a single 56, I think it is. What is procedure for officers on an open structure? Is it to go onto the property and look in windows? It's an open structure. You think common sense would be to knock on a door?
It depends on what the officers believe at the time. If they think the structure is open due to somebody breaking in or something like that, that would elicit one response. If they think it's just somebody left their door open, that would elicit a separate response.
So in the video, you heard the reporter say that he heard both the call from the neighbor and the dispatch call from the dispatch to the actual police officers. He said the signal was a signal 56, which you can see here on the Tarrant County, Texas website is an open structure call. And the police chief explained in the press conference that some open structure calls are treated as if someone has possibly broken into the structure.
It depends on what the officers believe at the time. If they think the structure is open due to somebody breaking in or something like that, that would elicit one response. If they think it's just somebody left their door open, that would elicit a separate response.
So I believe Officer Aaron Dean is going to use the defense that it was communicated to him that he was being dispatched to an open structure call that was a possible burglary. And that's why when he saw a Tatiana James through the window with her gun pointed at him, he thought it was a burglar and he was in fear for his life. Now, let's go back to where this all originated, because when you listen to the neighbor's call to police, you never actually hear him say the words wellness check or welfare check. I think her neighbor thought because he was calling 311 and not 911 that they would automatically know that it was for a wellness check and not for a crime, because 311 is a number that you call for wellness checks. But apparently that was not the case, and this call was interpreted as a report of a possible crime and not as a request for a wellness check, even though it came through on the non-emergency line.
Fort Worth Police Operator M873, what's the address?
Calling about a leave.
Okay, what's the address?
3 East Allen Avenue.
Okay, 1203 East Allen Avenue, what's going on there?
Well, the front doors have been open since 10 o'clock. I haven't seen anybody moving around. It's not normal for them to have both of the doors open this time, right?
Okay, you know if anyone is inside?
No, I'm not sure. Both of the cars are there.
Okay, you're with me. And they're in the driveway?
Both the cars are in the driveway.
Okay, can you give me a description, like a color of the vehicles?
Well, one's a white and one's black.
So what is it, a sedan or a SUV? Or pickup?
They're both sedans.
Okay. And what's your name?
James Smith.
And what's your telephone number? That's right. And are they usually home at this time?
They're usually home, but they never had both of the front doors open. With the lights on, like off the street through the house. Well, my sister was there. She stayed across the street from them. I live on the opposite side of my sister.
Okay. And the address that you gave me, 1203, that's their address, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll have an officer come by. They're already being dispatched now, okay?
Okay, appreciate it. I mean, there's not money for the both the doors open this way that long.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Bye-bye.
So as you heard, the words wellness check were not used on the call to 311, and the words wellness check were not communicated to the police dispatch, who were the ones that directly communicated with the two police officers dispatched to Tatiana's home. And that's where the confusion started, and by the time the officers arrived at Tatiana's home, her life was already in danger because they were already approaching her as a suspect in a possible robbery. You see in the body cam video that the police did not knock on her door or alert her to their presence at all. They're creeping around her house as if they're investigating a burglary because they believe that they've been dispatched to an open structure call that is a possible burglary. The Combined Law Enforcement Associations of Texas said in a statement that its legal team will represent Aaron Dean in his murder trial, and I believe this is the defense that they're going to use to try to get away with murder. When Aaron Dean has his day in court, if he takes a stand, I believe he's going to say that he believed Tatiana was a burglar because he was told that he was going to an open structure call that was possibly a burglary. And so when she pointed a gun at him, he thought she was a burglar pointing a gun at him, not an aunt trying to protect her nephew. And I can almost guarantee you that when he's in court, him and his lawyer are going to refer to Tatiana as a burglary suspect. They're going to relay the events that night from Aaron Dean's point of view, which was that she was a possible burglary suspect, and that's how they're going to try to get away with murder. And I believe that they're going to use the body cam video that shows the house as evidence that it was a possible robbery because you can see that there's some type of damage to the door and the chairs and the other objects outside look like they're strewn about. So I can already tell that that's what their defense is going to be when they try to get away with her murder. Now, I don't believe this defense will be effective, though, because the officer didn't even announce himself as police or give Tatiana a chance to follow his orders. He shot her at the same time that he gave the order to put her hands up. He shot her within that same 2 seconds that he gave the command. So he didn't follow correct protocol, even if it was a robbery. But in court, he's going to tell the story from his point of view, and he's going to be allowed to use the defense that from his point of view, she was a burglary suspect. And although now we know that his point of view was skewed from the information that he was told, we already know that the point of view of police officers holds a lot of weight in court from the Amber Geiger trial. In the Amber Geiger trial, Amber was allowed to paint Botham Jean as a suspect and a threat. And she was allowed to refer to his apartment as her apartment during the trial. They allowed her to continuously say, quote, "When I walked in my apartment, when I opened my door," even though it was Botham Jean's apartment and Botham Jean's door. And Judge Tammy Kemp even allowed Amber Geiger to use Texas's version of the stand your ground law in her defense. In Texas, the law is called the Castle Doctrine, and it allows you to use deadly force against someone if you're on your own property because you shouldn't be expected to retreat if you're in your own home. Judge Tammy Kemp allowed Amber Geiger to use that defense even though Amber Geiger was not in her own home, she was in Botham Jean's home. And even the author of the Castle Doctrine has come out and said that it was not meant to be used by people like Amber Geiger who are not in their own home. I know people are mad that Judge Tammy Kemp gave Amber Geiger a hug, but what people should be outraged about is that Judge Tammy Kemp allowed Amber Geiger to use the Castle Doctrine defense when she was in somebody else's castle. If it was left to Judge Tammy Kemp, Amber Geiger literally could have gotten away with murder because of that defense. She could have gotten away. The only reason Amber Geiger was convicted was because the prosecuting attorney got her to admit under oath that she shot at Botham Jean twice because she shot to kill. She did a double tap because she intended to kill him.
So you knew when you were shooting that gun that you were using deadly force against Mr. Jean?
Yes, it was a threat at the time.
Ma'am, will you answer my questions, please?
Yes, sir.
When you shot at Mr. Jean, you knew you were using deadly force against him.
Yes.
You know what a bullet can do, don't you?
Yes, I do.
And when you shot at him twice, you intended to kill him.
Yes, sir.
All right. So all this stuff about it being a sad mistake, at the moment in time when rubber meets the road, when you pulled that trigger, you intended to kill Mr. Jean.
He was the threat. Yes, sir.
Will you answer my question? When you aimed and pulled the trigger at Mr. Jean, shooting him in center mass exactly where you are trained, you intended to kill Mr. Jean.
I did.
You aimed and pulled the trigger at Mr. Jean, shooting him in center mass exactly where you are trained. You intended to kill Mr. Jean.
I did.
So once Amber Geiger admitted that she shot twice because she shot to kill, the jury had no choice but to convict her. But if it was left up to Judge Tammy Kemp, she literally could have gotten away with murder. I'm sure Aaron Dean is going to say that he only shot once because he was intending to wound the quote-unquote threat, but not actually kill her. And if the judge in his case is anything like Judge Tammy Kemp, they might consider that to be a solid defense. So I hope and pray that the judge in his case is not anything like Judge Tammy Kemp, and that judge doesn't allow the perspective or the narrative told by the murderer to be taken as truth, even when it's obviously false. Leave a comment and let me know what you think about this case. And as always, thanks for watching.